Welcome to the Centerville Planning Commission for July 22nd, 2026. I am Lorraine Patterson. I am the chair, and I am starting the meeting tonight. Our chair, Mason, will be here in a little bit. He can take over. In attendance tonight is Tyler, myself. Lane. Tyler's gone. Lane, myself, Gary, and Paul. And Amanda's gone, and Michael Adamson is also absent. Let's see. Oh, Gary is on the prayer or thought, so we'll turn the time over to you.
All right, so obviously July is a month of celebrating our nation and also our state and community. And so I was just thinking of, because this year is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, I was thinking about that document and the process that brought it about. This nation was founded on the principle of popular sovereignty, which means that the government derives its power from the consent of the governed. We agree to certain things so that we can live in a society and a community. We benefit from having a governmental structure, so we agree to certain laws and regulations so that we can live in harmony with our neighbors. Because of that, the people have the ultimate responsibility for the success of our nation, our state, and our community. We don't always agree with the laws and regulations, but if we approach what we consider as the writers of the Declaration of Independence and the framers of the Constitution did, with a spirit of accommodation, concession, and compromise, something that is largely forgotten in government today, our community will be well served. Just offer a prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be here tonight as members of the Planning Commission and Centerville citizens. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve and to consider the things that are before us tonight. We pray that Thy Spirit will be with us, that we can do those things that would be best in the best interests of our community and our state, and pray that we'll be guided in those decisions that we make. And we ask for these blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank you, Gary. Okay, we have some business items. The first will be the discussion, the review of the draft code, just a continuation of last time. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just going to turn the time over to you, Mike.
Okay, perfect. So obviously you've all hopefully read over the summary. You've had the opportunity to read over the materials that I introduced at the last meeting. I challenged you as planning commissioners to look at everything, look at the draft language as a good starting point, look at what other cities are doing, and think about if we want to push and pull some of the options that we do have, but also be aware of the state requirements, the things that have to be in the language. So even today, as I was reviewing what I had done last time, I recognize there's some things that I could further tweak, that I could do between now and even the next time we bring it forward, for instance. But let me back up and tell you about an experience I had. I don't know if Lee's had an opportunity to be on this call or not, but last Wednesday with the league, they held a lunchtime webinar on DADU establishment for communities. And ironically, the person who did the presentation that led out on the presentation was Mill Creek City's planner. So yay for us. I picked the right one of all the options I could have used as the starting point. His name was, now I'm not going to get it right, something Lily. I can't remember his first name, but anyway, he's their assistant city manager and their city community development director. I think his name is Francis Lilly, now that I think about it. But he outlined a lot of the factors and things that needed to be in a detached ADU code, and as he went through it, I feel like we've done a pretty good job at least getting close and using what they have as well as our own standards. There's a lot of things in there that are optional that we can go over. Like I said, one of the things that we probably need to soften in our code, as I've at least provided a draft, There's some language in there about willed structures, trailers, et cetera, that can't be used as DADUs. He said you can't really word it that way, but what you can do is state that any detached ADU structure has to be attached to a permanent concrete foundation. So that way you could still have a willed tiny home, for instance, that gets willed in, but it needs to be able to be attached to and anchored into that permanent foundation to give it permanence and skirting. So I'll have to figure out a way to reword that, so it says something to that effect. One other thing that he talked about that was really interesting is this whole discretionary perspective on how windows and doors should be placed next to neighboring properties. That's really it's a really gray area that the code doesn't address as well as maybe it ought to. And there's even a feeling that the legislature may bring that point back forward as a minor tweak in the future in February with a little bit of adjustment because it is so unclear. Some cities talk about opacity and translucency of windows. Obviously, you can see the one that I put in there is whether or not it can be open or closed if it's fixed, right? Some cities outright don't even allow for window openings on that side unless they're really teeny. So that's kind of an unclear thing. So what they said is you probably can't regulate out the windows, but you certainly probably can talk about transparency or opacity, at least for right now, unless the state legislature wants to regulate that even further one way or another relative to the window placement. So just be aware of that issue. One thing they did talk about was the setbacks on DADUs. Some cities are as restrictive as saying the setbacks match the primary dwelling. Others do kind of what we did, and others do kind of a hybrid. They set a standard like 10 feet from all setback or all property lines. With screening, some say whatever the accessory dwelling unit is, that's what we have in there currently right now. Or excuse me, accessory structures is that's the setback. Again, others say setbacks are the same as primary dwelling. The caution was that if we go overly restrictive to where we're trying to make them regulated out of the community as much as possible, the legislature will cue in on that and hammer us even more. So that was a caution. And I hate to say that like bluntly, but that's how I felt like it was shared with us by league staff actually, who made that comment. And it's even indicated in the 2-page document I shared with all you, and that's included in the packet from the league. They warn about that, like make sure you're doing it with the right spirit of intent to allow for discretionarily some of these types of uses to be able to be accomplished in your community without over-regulating them out of your community, because that sends a different message. So those were the cautions and comments that came by and large from that meeting outside of what we've already included. One thing too that I've noted in the document I handed out 2 weeks ago, but I don't know if I made it really clear, we are allowed if a structure is 650 square feet to require 2 parking spaces on site. And in talking to the streets supervisor for the Public Works Department, he would hope that we add language that says that. Okay. That the state code does allow us to do. So if a unit is 650 less than 650 square feet, we can only require 1, but we could add the code that says if it's more than 650 square feet, we can require 2. And then again, what is also discretionary is how big a size the units are and how tall they are and all those factors. That's all discretionarily in play. Even to the point where I was kind of surprised by this, but having a restriction about occupancy is actually allowed right now. Now that's could, again, one of those things, if we hammer down on that could be maybe variable in the future. But where Mill Creek has two adults and their children, that is an allowance that right now state code allows you to have. So if we want to, again, if we do want to worry about that, we can, or we don't have to, because right now a family by city and state code is four unrelated persons living together. So that in some ways that defines out how people even live in a DADU. Mm-hmm.
More legally sustainable to
Yeah.
just go with the state.
That's what I think too.
I thought you were talking about the owner occupancy,
No.
because we can do the owner.
Yeah.
The owner has to live on the property.
Yeah, and that we
Which
can.
was-
Yeah, that we can. Yep. And so the other things, obviously, short-term rentals, we can require 90 days or more for occupancy. Owner occupancy can be a requirement. We can, as you've seen, eliminate having multiple accessory dwelling units. You can make the accessory dwelling unit subordinate to the main unit, which obviously by the nature of being an accessory structure, we already do that. Lot coverage is in game. Anyway, those are things that are there. I've said a lot, but I just wanted to share that with you. What's different again from our last discussion and presentation is I've included the ULCT detached ADU one-pager to it. So hopefully you had a chance to see what their legal guidance is there from them of what we can and can't have. And then I've added the code variation ideas from other cities. So I'm not sure what the best approach is for tonight. I have up the Word document. I'm trying to be as efficient as possible to do edits or take notes of ideas or comments from you. I'd like to get your thoughts and feedback and guidance. I have even some internal commentary if we want to hit any of my internal commentary. I am looking for quite a bit of direction. I know that, but I'm kind of, again, it's a lot of optional conversation points that I wanted to get vetted. Before I turn it over back to the Planning Commission for discussion, I will note I have a better feel of where they have this request for compliance determination. I personally, in looking at it, feel like unless Lisa tells me it has relevance, that it doesn't need to be there, because we have other procedural processes for non-complying structures, and we also have application processes otherwise linked to 1221.60 and 1221.90, which are use requests. And also, I realized today when I was going over my review that the matrix would need to be updated to add detached accessory dwelling units. I did not do that.
We generally do not provide compliance letters.
That's what I
So real
thought,
estate, title, closings ask for them all the time. We don't give them because it's staff time and there's, it's not something for us to review.
Okay.
We just do a complaint basis.
So you'd be okay with deleting that
So
out?
I would, prefer
Okay.
not to have something like
Okay.
that.
So with that all being said, I'll turn it back over to the Planning Commission and see how you want to go forward, hitting key points or sharing your thoughts.
Thanks, Mike. You reached out and asked me to read. You think that I read? I read, and I researched the crud out of it for the last couple of weeks. I'm not exactly sure how to go forward with this. I have points all over, like from different cities, and then going through different points, things that I liked, things that I didn't like.
So, kind of what I would be seeking for today is some even narrower consensus, and obviously, what we're working with is we have to have it to the council, we have to have it to the state or ready for the state by October 1st to meet the deadline, which means we have to have the council approval the meeting before October 1st. So it gives us, 2 meetings with council would be both meetings in September. We're shooting for a public hearing in some format of language, hopefully for the, I think it's August 12th Planning Commission meeting, which means it could go to the August, what's 2 weeks from that? Is that the 22nd? So the 12th, it's not August 12th, the other meeting.
12, 12, I'm thinking city council.
I don't know the date. What is it,
So
Sydney?
we have
Four.
August.
12th and then
26th.
Yeah.
So, it would be nice to get some kind of document that's recommended to city council on the 12th, but if we're not quite there yet, and the 26th, to refine it further to make it what we think the council should have to review, I just want to make sure we give them what we need, where they would have at least 2 meetings to review something and make decisions.
And we also have to have a public hearing, and at some point, before we have the public hearing, we have to have the ordinance ready. One idea, and I apologize, I didn't talk to Mike
speak
about
it,
this,
Lisa,
but
whatever you want.
I
Go
was
for it.
trying to grapple with all this as well.
There's a lot.
And reading through things, but one thing that might be helpful is, of course, I go through the statute first and then just say, so there's things that we can add, the things that we have to add, so we make sure that's in, things that we cannot add, and then things that are discretionary, and then just kind of go through those and say, do you like the 1 parking stall? Do you like the 2 parking? And then let's just say yes, yes, yes. And then I also really like this one sheet that you put out of, hey, here's some other ideas that other cities have done that are not in all of this. And I just kind of said, yes, no, because I think for Centerville, we are not going to be pioneers in this. we want to comply with the law and generally comply with the spirit of the law, and if, you know, but I really liked, like I was wondering, because a number of cities said, oh yeah, it has to be a concrete. Now that makes sense why you're
Yeah.
saying it has to be on a concrete slab, but anyway, that might be better to get from the planning commission, these topics.
Yeah.
And then Mike will know, oh yeah, I already covered that, but we can go back if it, you know.
Yeah, some
Because it
key-
keeps us bigger picture for now with the ideas and then
Yes.
make sure it's in there.
That's the other thing, is if we meet the minimum requirements, we can clearly go in and the things you really like down the road, do a version 2 or enhance it. So we meet the deadline, but we can come back and add stuff that makes more sense, Lori, like if, it's like caging the animal, right? We have to try to keep it within the kind of confines we need to get it to October 1st. That doesn't mean we can't go back and then do more to it to make it more to what Centerville should have it be, I guess is what I'm saying. A key thing I need to know right out the gate, as a term, maybe just to tip the iceberg and look at it, is the size. The size maximum for a lot is 11,000 square feet, but some cities have as low as 6,000 square feet. So, I mean, those are kind of some of the things I want to start looking at that we will have to dial into.
Wasn't the state's requirement 11,000?
11,000 is the max. You can't make
Oh,
it.
can't go.
Yeah, you can make it smaller, but you can't make it larger.
Yeah, yeah.
So we need to have a minimum and a maximum.
Well,
Of the
just,
lot that you're, eligible.
yeah, the lot size. And then you can further regulate the actual size of the.
Right.
Right, and the size
Right.
itself.
Some have 1,000 square feet, some have 650 square feet, some have 1,300
300, some have-
square feet.
yeah.
So there's a lot there. These are the kind of things that are push and pull factors that I need to understand.
Okay, so along with that, if we have size for maximum, we need to come up with a minimum, but I had a question on the size. So you had talked about 300, and then it can be maxed out to 1,250, depending, right? So I need clarification. We do not count basement as a level, right?
Well, in a detached accessory dwelling unit?
Yeah.
In any, but yeah, most
In
cities are
any.
prohibiting them from having a basement.
Basement,
I'm not sure why, but I say let's just go with that idea. No
Okay.
basements, because I think they're,
Yeah,
I don't know if they don't want more structure or it makes it too big because they're trying to say, look, this needs to be accessory and they limit it to 2 bedrooms or, you know, they require a kitchen, 2 bedrooms and at least a 3/4
Right.
bath. You know, I kind of like those ideas, but I think with a basement, now you're doubling the size. So that's probably why they're saying concrete slab, no basement.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get here.
Okay.
We could also reference gross floor area, because I know that that's referenced in variations of the code, and that is pretty defined in our city code too, so that is something that we might be able to do.
For an ADU, it's defined already?
No, just like in general, so for like commercial units, when it says the parking count, or if there's like a identification, they always do gross floor area, so we reference that quite a bit. It's defined in our definition, so we could say gross floor area of an ADU can only be maximum this amount, so it's not like a loft situation, like that's,
And you won't get a loft if you don't go higher than 20 feet. Like, if we keep it as it currently is with accessory buildings at 20 feet, which we can do, you won't have an upstairs.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be so permissive to let there be upstairs DADUs, we don't have to.
So how
And
come?
I
how come
kind of
we-
like it because it seems more accessory.
How come we wouldn't want them, let them excavate a basement? I don't understand that.
I don't know, but other than it you can't, you know, it doubles the space.
Sure, but
So
it's,
now you could have 6 to 8 people living there.
do we not have, the ability to limit the number of occupants?
We do.
yes.
We do, but we can't define what a family is.
No, not that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right, but as, I can't remember who.
We could get more information, but, yeah, and just
Yeah, you
reviewing
could-
this, a lot of cities,
Some
the
cities do
20,
2 adults with children.
2 with children,
Right.
but if you look at my family, there were 2 adults and there were 12 children. So, I mean, obviously you don't want that many
Well, there's a definition of family that says 2 adults and their children,
and their children.
meaning that is one of the core definitions of family by state code.
So I called my brother-in-law, who is the, what is his title? city building official in the town of Jackson and said, how do you define? Because they were having a lot of problems with that. So he said, obviously occupancy, you can't limit the size of a family, but because they were having a lot of problems with it, he said it's limited by the amount of bathrooms. So they have 4 people per bathroom that are allowed to be there, because they were having so many problems.
I don't know, we have to be real careful. There was a big debate and argument about the definition of family here about a decade ago, and it led to some pretty rigid language from the state, so we have to be careful with that.
Well, right, so again, you can't say what a family is, but he said we limited it to bathrooms.
I mean, I guess, I don't know if we want to limit bathrooms, I guess we could get to that granular of a discussion.
Well, my concern is
Yeah.
that, people in Utah and Idaho like to have babies, and that's freaking awesome, that's fantastic. But how many people do you want in there, either in your backyard or in your neighbor's backyard? Do you want 6 children or 8 children or whatever it's going to be in this little tiny unit, maybe because it's all they can afford? But there has to be some parameters.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess I'd look to Lisa on that, because of the definition of family being 2 persons and their children. It's one of the core definitions in the state code.
Well, I think we're gonna have more success in just limiting the total gross floor. And I would rather have a 350 square foot basement with a 350-foot ground level than a 700 or whatever sprawl on a
A
slab.
bigger building.
Yeah, on a
You'd
slab.
rather it compress and not be so big.
Good point.
So when you're talking about the gross floor area, that is foundation and above, right?
Gross floor area defined, I think it is livable, it's not like livable area, but it is the area with any use.
So that would be, if there was a basement, like Mason was suggesting, it would be basement and the first level.
Yeah, you calculate both
It would be
floors.
gross, even at, and I don't think they'll get to, like you say, Mike, a second, unless it's one of those houses where they half excavate or whatever. But-
Yeah, with some kind of daylight scenario.
But I agree with you, I think gross should include anything that is considered living space.
Yeah, you can see the definition on here, which
Oh, thank you.
it evidences any floor,
Yeah.
basically.
Floor, including
You add them
basement.
together.
We don't even like saying, we have people argue,
Oh, yeah,
commercial or
living.
residential, well, this is just a broom closet. Like,
Right.
no, it's total
space.
space.
Yeah.
Not livable, it's just total space.
Okay.
So you'd
But
say,
I agree with Sydney, if we already have definitions that would work, but we want to make sure they work for both residential.
so you'd say like maximum size for DADU is 1,300 gross square feet.
That would make sense
Well,
to
that
me.
exceeds the other maximums that are currently written. Like the most that I ever read was 1,250.
Right, I'm just saying like.
You're just throwing out a number.
Yeah, a number, or 1,200 or 1,000, but you'd use gross square feet, whatever your number was that you think is
'Cause
realistic and attainable for
Even
this.
1,000 square feet on one level is pretty darn big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of space.
It's a house.
You're right, it is a house, so it's
It
a
is.
house behind a house, and there's,
And to Mason's point, then you'd have 500 and 500 if you allow for basements.
That
for
could
gross
work,
calculation.
and then you're preserving, hopefully, permeable surfaces, green space,
neighbors.
distance from neighbors maybe,
Yeah, right.
setbacks.
That's a good suggestion, so that works really well.
So I do like that measurement. What were you going to say?
So, I guess I'm just curious, like, I know obviously we want to follow the law, but for you guys, is your goal to try to kind of restrict this a little bit, make like de-incentivize people, or are we wanting
That's
to?
not our call. That's.
Right, I guess I'm
yeah.
asking like, what do you prefer?
It depends on what school of thought you are as a resident of Centerville. That's the best way I can answer it, Wayne.
Having worked here 20 years, if I were drafting this, I would draft it to the level the law requires.
Yeah.
And if the planning commission says, hey, staff, nope, we want basements, although basements isn't one of those, but we think it should come down to 9,000 square foot lots because we don't have any 11,000, we have 10,000, we had our 10,000 or, so 11,000 isn't gonna hit any lots. So that's where the planning commission kind of comes in and says, hey, let's make this more attainable, but I think the closer to the legal limits is likely where the council may come back.
Yeah.
But again, that's just me. I think planning staff is typically more like, no, let's make this available, and maybe planning commission, you're certainly welcome to do that, but that's why I like starting at the law and then picking these areas where you say, but we realized in Centerville at 11,000 square feet, when that came out in the law, I was like,
Yeah, it's
we're
barely
done.
anything.
We don't have, I count how many 11,000 square foot residential lots you have in Centerville.
Well, our whole neighborhood is
Oh,
14
but I
and
can tell you a
above.
bunch.
But not, I'm just saying, it's not gonna, yeah,
Quarter
it's have
acre,
them,
quarter
but-
acre or higher is about what you're
Well, I
talking
know,
about.
yeah,
0.28
because I know
acres or
mine's
higher.
13,000 feet.
Yeah.
So anyway, it would be interesting.
Oh,
Maybe
it's-
we should start there and say, you know, have staff.
I suspect it, I mean, I was talking to Sydney just really informally, this is just a really errant approximation. Maybe 15-20% of lots in Centerville at 11,000 square feet
Okay.
might qualify.
So 20% of residential lots.
And most of them, if they're new lots.
And so that's where I'm saying the
houses
planning
are
commission may say, well, we want more of the city to have this available.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why each of these topics is an interesting question in itself.
That's,
But,
yeah.
you know, I think it's drafted here, but the planning commission can certainly push on some of these, or like the basement issue, that's a great point. Like, I don't know why other cities are doing this, or the parking spaces. Maybe the planning commission says, no, we don't want more hard space. But,
Yeah.
I want to just put something to your guys' forefront. So when I review internal accessory dwelling units, or when I review building permits, what I look at and I get pushback, or not even pushback, but confusion on a lot, is the height, the impervious surface / hard surfacing, the setbacks, and then the parking. So when I'm looking at thinking, okay, how am I going to review detached accessory dwelling units? No matter what the size of the lot is, they need to meet the impervious surface. They're going to need to meet the parking. They're going to need to meet the setbacks. We do not allow for accessory structures in front yards or side yards. So they're going to be limited to the rear yard. On top of that, we do not allow for parking to be in the front portion, so in the front yard. So their parking stalls need to be either in the side yard, or that can be tandem, that can be side by side, but it needs to be in the side yard or the rear yard. When we're looking at, obviously, setbacks, depending on what we want to go for, that will be something that will also limit it. So while I know that 11,000 square feet sounds really, really very giving, when you look at the other requirements that people are going to have to meet, there's going to be a lot of that have 11,000 square feet but cannot qualify because the impervious surface, or because the lot layout just doesn't work with what they want, where the parking needs to be or where the setbacks are. And then if we also add on layers of, hey, we don't want windows to on this side or this side because you can look into your neighbors, that's also another limiting factor. We don't want basements, or we don't want loft situations. We don't want to be able, I think we have to allow for conversion of detached garages, but, you know, just things to keep in mind, that the lot size, there's going to be maybe, like, out of those 20% that lots that meet that qualification, probably only about 50 of those, or 50% of those, are going to meet the rest of the qualifications. So just keep that in mind. Whatever side you want to fall on, that's just something to remember.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my internal comments, that's why I had 22 internal comments. These are those squishy areas that there's flexibility, and I need some guidance on you representing your interests, representing the community members you participate with. Where do you want to go with those squishy items? That's where I need some guidance.
Well, can we talk about setbacks then for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
Because people have different setbacks, right? 5, 10, 15. When I was reading through, and then when I was also talking with my brother-in-law from Jackson, and he's done this for almost 30 years, and he kind of knows his stuff. asking him what has worked and what hasn't worked, and he gets a lot of what hasn't worked, and they've tweaked and retweaked through the years. And he just said, I mean, if you do 10 and 15 feet, you're just knocking people out of the ballpark. It's not gonna happen. If you do 5 feet, that's practical. But again, 5 feet practical, how high? It's 20 feet. Are you looking over into your neighbor? And so I asked him, what do you think about the windows? And he said, well, do you want to be peering down at your neighbor or peering up at your neighbor? I mean, you don't want that. And so we suggest that they have windows. All the windows are workable, not non-workable, but the windows are actually workable, but on, you know, the fronts and the sides. So he said that's what has through the years, that has worked for them. The 5 feet setbacks, the working windows, and just kind of not having it on the back, but also depending on the sides too, because you don't want them looking over. So he said, you just have to be careful how you word it, you know?
But what's their minimum lot size requirement?
Their minimum lot size, I don't have their minimum lot size, and he may have.
Because that would make a difference, because if they're allowing it on smaller lot sizes, then the 5 feet would be necessary, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't allow big ADUs either. They just allow the smaller ones.
And this comes back to what I was talking
I don't
about,
have
the
that number.
cities are grappling with the windows. That's why they talk about opacity, right? You can make it, you could screen them darker, they can't open, but you can still then allow for windows to be on a side that's adjacent to the neighboring property or the property owner in the back. Because at least that lets some light come into the house, even if it's not workable, right? So at least it's kind of trying to mediate, hey, you can have windows, but just understand because of the proximity to a residential structure,
Yeah.
it's like this.
Yeah.
Same reason why they don't have stairs and openings on certain sites too, right? And you see that in the code I provided, because Mill Creek is one, that's how they like to do it. The stair openings and door openings have to either face the street or face internally to the lot. They can't be anywhere adjacent to the rear or the side, depending on where that is.
Right. I'm kind of curious how, I think people are used to, on their side yards, we have the 8-foot side yard setback. But then, you know, like the cities that are saying, hey, it's the same setback as a primary dwelling, I think is too restrictive. Because
I
I
do
agree
too.
it's not gonna
I
happen.
tend
But
to
what if we
too.
keep the
Right.
side yard setbacks, but allow them in the rear? So we extend the rear yard so that, I mean, you could almost allow more windows to make this a livable space, more windows, because you have the same side yard setback, but allow them to go further into the thing, so it won't feel as invasive on the neighbors. And I know it doesn't always work with, you know, lots that are not just side, but for many of them, you just keep that side yard
All the way back.
easier,
The
but
8.
allow them to go a little bit further into the back, you know, maybe just a 10-foot, so.
What would you do for-
Then everybody could have windows, because it's not that invasive as 5 feet. I just think 5 feet is, we get complaints about 5 feet on an accessory structure.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's true.
Imagine someone living there.
What are our accessories, I should know this, the accessory structure setbacks?
400 square feet or more is 5 feet, and then 400 square feet or less is 3 feet.
Yeah.
So if you do like 401, you're gonna be a 5-foot setback, rear and side, and then 400 square feet or less, it's gonna be 3 foot. I will say though, now that like easements, they are not gonna be allowed to build
No,
within
you
the
have to
easements.
do no PUD places.
And all easements on like, I think lots past, I don't know what date it was passed, but typically side yards are 7 feet. So that is something to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, so that's why if we just have the 8
feet.
feet, and then bring the rear in just a little bit, but obviously they can go back further and see if that works on an 11,000. But, I mean, it's not gonna work for some, because on an 11,000 square foot lot, someone may have a huge home, so that means you don't get
Yeah.
a DADU.
You don't have the room.
You
You
don't
know,
have
so
room for
we're
it.
not being the
Yeah.
bad guy, it's just that they've used up all their space.
You
But if
could
they
just
have-
do 8-foot setback, period, for the AD, so from the rear lot line and the rear side lot line, it's just 8 feet, instead of 5 feet, which is what Mill Creek has and what I just
Yeah.
kept, we do it to 8 feet, and then you're outside of the.
And it's
PUD.
easier to say, look, this is no different than your side yard. And a
Yeah.
lot of people's side yards go up to someone else's rear yard.
Yeah.
So you can make that logical argument that it's the same side yard as a primary residence, depending on how.
So you mean 8 foot back from the fence and 8 foot back
From
of
both.
this, 8 foot from
Yeah.
the
8 foot
building.
away from any
No
property
matter
line.
what.
Anything,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can only go in the rear yard.
Yeah.
Right, right.
But-
Yeah, right.
And I agree with that. I know we've already had a question, I think rear yard only 8 feet from any property line.
I like it.
Yeah, that works.
Unless
I
there's
think
an
that
easement
works.
back there, then you had to come back.
Well, that's the thing.
Yes,
with
even
easements.
more, yeah.
Unless there's an unknown non-PUE easement, I guess, to your point, Paul.
I guess there is, I know some subdivisions in the city have CCNRs associated with them, which probably prohibit accessory dwelling units.
And there is some code, it's on there, it talks about pre-existing HOAs and CCNRs. Do you have legal precedent in light of the DADUs? So there is, I think it's the second to last comment on that two-sheet from the league where they make a comment about that.
Well, and HOAs can always make private covenants. You can live in an HOA that says
Yeah.
you can only have a tan house.
think it's
The
on
city
there.
can't regulate that, but HOAs
This
can.
one?
Maybe it's on 304.
And HOAs can say you can only have your air conditioning in the back.
Maybe now I think about it, it's in 1021-304, right at the very end. Go to the very first one, Sydney. And it's like one of the very last standards. I just read it today. Where is it? There it is. This section does not supersede prohibitions or restrictions on detached accessory dwelling units in development agreement signed municipality on or before May 6, and a land use regulation that regulates. So I guess it's saying from the city. It's not necessarily
Yeah.
saying HOA.
But HOAs can make private covenants as
Yeah.
long as they're not
Yeah,
illegal. They
so it
can't
still
do
works, but-
discriminatory things. And they can't regulate and restrict solar, certain,
Yeah.
solar panels, but
I think I've
I'm
read
not
some
aware
notes,
of
but
them. You can live in a HOA that could restrict this.
Again, the other reason that one-story feature is better than two-story is this issue with windows and staring at your
Right.
neighbors goes way down, because it's gonna be really hard to see even at a 20-foot structure over a fence real easily, right?
So 20 feet is one story?
Yeah.
Is that how you, okay, so 20-foot height limit?
Yeah.
Do my
But,
neighbor-
sorry, go ahead,
No, I
whoever.
was just gonna say, your neighbors still have the same problem with my two-story house, looking over my neighbors,
Oh, yes, we do.
even though I'm not clear back to the property line. It's kind of a funny discussion, but, and it's the same thing with windows.
We all do
I
it.
mean, what,
Yeah, we grow lots of plants and trees back
yeah,
there.
what, I mean, what do we,
We're not.
I don't know, it's interesting. My opinion is we try to draft something that's meets the state requirement, as was mentioned, and not go much beyond that. So the question is, things like 11,000 square feet, do we think there's a demand within the city for accessory dwelling units on smaller
It
lots?
depends on who you talk to. There is a council member that believes very strongly, yes.
That there is.
I've had a few residents, since maybe the past year, maybe about 10 residents have given me a call saying, where are we at with detached ADUs? Where are we at with this? So only 10, not very much, but over the past
But-
year, that's about one per month, you know what I mean? So
And did they give you any indication about what?
what they wanted, some was conversion, a few was converting, this is where I think that we need some clarification too.
Yeah.
Like a detached garage, they wanna convert the upper portion of their detached garage.
Yeah.
Another one was simple, like a mother-in-law kind of sweet situation where they wanna have a spot, put in almost kind of like a prefab home
Oh,
and
yeah.
just place it on there. And then there was, I think, 2 that wanted to have renters and have it be of size of their house, pretty darn big.
Oh, yeah.
So those 2 though, Mike's aware of one of them. The other one, it was actually in an agriculture lot, so it had a lot of space, but.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Interesting.
Can we go back to the height protection, or height projection? I kind of like protection too, but height projection. In Mill Creek's, and what they have in 18.72.040, it talks about the height projection. And like in A1, it talks about, maybe she can pull it up. Maybe you can pull it up.
Which one are you talking?
It's under Mill Creek, the Mill
So go
Creek
up
thing.
to municipal code analysis document, right there.
Oh,
Scroll down. It's like the, I think it's-
No, because it's 18.72.040, so that's not going to be in this document.
keep going.
Oh, maybe it will be later. No, that goes to
That's Salt Lake County,
19.
it's right after this one, I think.
oh, okay.
What's the citation?
18.72,
There you go. So 18.71 dot what?
18.72
Oh, so it's a different city?
dash 040. I thought that it was under note,
So that's
but
a
I
different.
just have the reference number.
Those are all 18.71.
Anyway, it's the one that talks about the height projection of 20 feet. And then it says, then I was a little bit confused on it, because then it provided some exceptions, such as towers and theater lofts and a bunch of different things in there. And I thought, well, I don't like that. I don't like that wording, because people will define things as different, you know. It's going to be different to me than it's going to be to Mason if we're going to be building. Can you just put in the number? Oh, there.
Yeah, I've been trying to, but it's not pulling up 18.72.
72.040.
And all of them, they don't pull up.
You must have gone online, because that's what it says. Roof structures for the housing of blah, blah, blah,
Oh, on Mill Creek's.
yeah, on their own website.
Oh, okay,
Parapet
it's
walls,
something, okay.
Skylights, steeples, flagpoles, chimneys, smokestacks, water tanks, wireless or television masts, theater lofts, silos may be erected above the height limits prescribed in this title.
And so I thought, oh, maybe that's what I did, because I went from one and I clicked on it and it took me over here.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's what it was. I just want to be more clear in our code than that. And what is a theater loft? And why are we having a smokestack? And what is happening here? And like in Greece, all their water heaters are on the top because the sun warms them and then the water comes down. That's great, but I don't really want to be looking at that.
I think we should keep the height calculations that we have, that we do for primary residence, and just keep it the same. And if we need to improve that with other things that Mill Creek is clearer on, we could, but I don't, for staff ease of, implementing this, we just use things that are already in our code to measure, either square footage or height. And our height is, if it's on a hill, we have a different calculation than if it's on flat ground, and it does cause some consternation, but I think we need to use the same calculation, otherwise it's gonna be confusing, we'll make mistakes.
So you think that what we have is clear enough?
I mean,
Is
at
it
least
clear enough?
what we could do with what we have right now, again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. We could get the code in place, see how things are going, see what kind of barriers, issues, having a report to the planning commission 6 months down the road, for instance, right? What are we seeing? And let you know if we're seeing issues or things that need to be further dialed in. Because we're going to be in a position where we're running out of time to get everything done by October 1st anyway. So I guess what I'm saying, Larry, is we can talk about that stuff more effectively and more dialed in down the road, but we need to get a basic code in place now and then figure out what is and isn't working and dial it in later.
And that's why I think the council is gonna wanna start with 11,000 feet to see how it works. Let's get a few of these in and see what the issues are. And then, but we can keep those arguments, and certainly the planning commission can recommend. If you wanna go down to 10,000 square foot lots and say, hey, we had staff calculate, and you're only gonna have, 25 lots in the city that could even meet all of these standards, and that's not really opening up the doors like the legislature wanted. You could recommend that, but I do think that just sort of, letting this go and then making tweaks as scenarios come along, or as we realize that not very many people are able to use these.
Are we allowing for detached ADUs in ag lots?
Well, it is interesting, I think the statutes talk about primarily residential zones.
Yeah,
and
right,
we will need to clarify that, because if it's primarily residential zone, you have to allow it. Others, we could make it a conditional use or something like that. But that is a question that I had too, like do we just leave it in
In my mind, when I look at the agricultural low, it feels like a residential zone the way it's established. Agricultural medium, I think we would not allow
But you
it.
could have a lot more lots, and is that really what we want? Because those are our undeveloped areas where you could be putting, I don't know,
Well, you can only
you're
have
taking up
one.
your,
You can only have one, obviously DADU with a primary dwelling, so that's
yeah,
gonna be
you do
controlled
already
its
have
own
to have a
right.
dwelling. so,
Yeah, so that will control that scenario, even with a large lot.
Well, I just meant, you're prohibiting more planned future development by allowing use of ag, because
exactly.
now there's less of an incentive once you have two dwellings, and so if we can prohibit it.
But they,
you know, then-
on the contrary, the resident that's there may say, hey, I'm in a residential lot, why are you taking that right away from me to pursue it, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So, question, did we get a count of how many detached ADUs there are in Bountiful? Is that a data point that we can get?
I mean, I suppose I could call their community development director and ask for that number.
Curious, right? They're a
Yeah.
neighbor, they're a lot like us, they've got standards that I think are fine.
And they already have a DADU
We've
ordinance
already
in
got it in
place.
place.
Yeah.
We
How's
clone
it going?
We clone it, how's it going?
Get some pictures.
Yeah.
Then the decision is not based on, oh no, we're opening up the floodgates. Yeah, but our neighboring city only has 10.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. Their standards are different than what we have, right? 8,000 square
Slightly,
feet,
yeah.
350 square feet.
8,000 might be
unit.
too low, but I think 11,000 would be not something I would recommend. I think that it
It's
is
too high.
far too high.
Yeah.
And,
See, now I would recommend that.
I
and
know.
I'd stand by it.
but I'd go by 85. I'd say 85
That's
is
pretty small. What's a quarter acre?
quarter acre.
10,800 or something like
So it's not even a quarter acre. It's
0.2.
like a fifth acre.
Yeah,
Or-
you're getting to
Quarter
smaller
acre is a
lots.
large lot, though.
Yeah, but what's the point? The whole point that the
Yeah.
decision has been taken away from us because
Right, that's
of
right.
Right.
the auto clenching that towns have engaged in.
Your average lot size, I would say, is somewhere between 8,000 to 10,500.
But layer on top of that, this is the way my mind's going, layer on top of that, permeable surfaces, setbacks.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go to 8, good luck getting much on a 0.2.
Yeah.
It'd have to be a
Yeah.
That's true,
particular
too.
shape, it'd have to be a particular shape along with permeable surfaces.
Even your permeable at 60% makes that
So
hard.
if we're trying to show good faith to the legislature, and the league has asked us to do so, I
Yeah.
feel like 11,000 is, I've said my piece.
Yeah. But
Anyways,
you're saying that.
That's why I was headed towards, what does Bountiful
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah, I'll call them.
Because if they've got 3,000, that'd be great to know.
Yeah,
If they've
I'll
got
find out.
10, that's a different story.
But your feeling is that if we recommended smaller than 11,000, the city council would
You
say,
may get overturned.
yeah.
But that's fine, that's fine. If you
Well,
wanna
sure,
go
I
that number, yeah,
understand that,
that's fine.
but your feeling is the city council won't go for,
Well, no, I don't want to
Depends on
hinder the planning commission's
Sure,
debate.
you know, I
If really, if you're
understand.
saying this is our recommendation, we think we should allow more of these, and it has some beneficial, aspects, and we'll get more people in homes, I
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah, you have 5 unique perspectives.
And it's not that hard to change, because if you
They're
say
gonna weigh in.
8,000 and they say 11, it's
That's-
one
yeah.
text change.
I could see some
Yeah.
councils being okay.
Other than the setbacks, because at 8,000, you're probably, gonna-
Some council members being okay with 8,000, others not so much.
yeah, oh, I'm sure, I'm sure.
Something that might help you rationalize this is that for residential low lots, for 1 acre, we allow for 4 units per acre. So that's, even though it's going to be a detached structure or a detached living unit, it's gonna be smaller, so I think that that does play to the favor that 11,000 square feet lots for building might be, much more limiting than you kind of think it is, so. When you're, just something to think about.
Well, and as you read through the purpose of why a lot of these cities that, you gave us are doing this, it says over and over, like, this is for people who maybe need extra income. And a lot of those people can't afford
Yep.
huge lots. So I
Yeah.
say that to say I agree with Mason, that I think 11,000 is just, I feel like I have a huge lot, and I think mine's only a quarter acre, so I don't think I would even qualify.
That's right, and that's where the legislature's going, is what you just said, is that there's people that need housing, and this is trying to open some doors to that.
They need housing, and there's people who need money.
Yeah,
Yep,
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
If a spouse
right.
dies or something.
Yeah.
yep. Yeah, and even if you went to 10,000, you're starting to turn the dial down to people who can actually start to take advantage of it. you know, now you're getting a higher percentile. Maybe you're going from where I said 15, 20, maybe now you're at 25, 30, or each time you ratchet down 1,000, you're getting a larger sweep of who can qualify.
So when you call Bountiful, will you please ask them, not only how many, but the size of their lots that these are being put on?
What they typically see or
Yes, what they
What's their
typically
minimum?
see. Because, no, their minimum is 8,000, right?
Oh, but what are the
what do they
size?
typically
Right.
see and
But,
use?
yeah, what are they typically being put on?
Yeah.
What size of lots?
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to know that.
Distribution.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
See if they have that information. Yeah.
So to put a fine point on where I'm at, Bountiful seems like a really good direction.
Yeah.
Depending on the data, it's persuasive enough to a town council or a city council that could say, I'm afraid of X, when we at least have a litmus test that's happening next door.
Yeah.
And then that gives you direction. It potentially gives town council or city council members some reassurance.
Yeah, and Bountiful has the minimum and they have a maximum. Again, we don't have to match their number.
Right.
but they do have it.
We've looked to Bountiful before and had some antagonism from it, for example, the Main Street ordinance. Right? The response being, we don't want to be Bountiful in that regard, and maybe that's going to happen here, but at least I'd like to know.
And you can see on theirs, on that feature that's pulled up. Now, they are one of them that do not allow windows to be on any adjoining
And
property.
can I wade into that? I think that we should probably just say no windows if it's within X amount of feet or something like that.
No
Or-
windows at all?
Mill Creek has,
Personally, having a window in my bathroom that faces onto the 8-foot side yard into my neighbor's backyard, we are constantly trying to keep that window closed. It just feels weird. I would rather just not have a window there.
Could we, with that, could we do something with the distance from their home? For instance, like my house, my neighbor, I've got almost a quarter acre between my house and their house. and
Mill
they
Creek
own-
standard, to your point, I was gonna say that is 15 feet from a neighboring residence.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's 20 feet, I don't care,
They
but
want
like,
at least
I
15
would
feet.
hate if I wanted to
too.
do this and I've got this huge lot next to me, nobody's there, I'm not spying on anyone and I can't put a window in it.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
Plus, you don't want to live in a unit where you can't have sunshine.
No, you want sunshine. I would agree with that, but there's other methods by which you can get sunshine.
Sunlight, the skylights.
Skylights.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, we're putting in increased housing. We're putting people closer together. And I think additional restrictions ought to be put into place. That's just my gut from the hip, right? Like,
How do you guys feel about opaqueness? So if I was to do the review and I saw that on the plan set, maybe they did have a window there, but I said a terms of condition that you have to have the window be 80% opaque, or you have to have one of those like opaque windows, and then when we do the site visit, the building inspector says that's an opaque window or that's not an opaque window.
a non-operable, as in permanently fixed.
You can't open it, yeah.
I have one in like our rental unit right now where it is workable, but there is, there's like a film over it.
Yeah, that's the opacity.
Yeah.
Opacity. So maybe that might, I can't see out of that window, nobody can see into that window, and light still gets in. It allows for, let's say somebody had a prefab home and they're trying to save money instead of getting it, like professionally redone or to get it redesigned, they just say, okay, you need to slab on a screening for that. That might be something to kind of meet in the middle.
It seems better.
So,
I couldn't live in a unit that didn't have windows or that they couldn't even open.
in Mill Creek's ordinance, it's in their 18.71.090. They have a statement, it's sub-article 5, windows on a facade located within 15 feet of an abutting property containing a single household, twin home, or duplex dwelling shall be fixed, non-operable, and translucent, or shall be installed skylights. And so I looked up what translucent means. Translucent materials allow light to pass through them, but scatter the rays so much that objects on the other side appear blurry or distorted.
Oh, okay.
So that's how they address
Almost
this.
like a block glass, sort of,
Like frosted.
maybe?
Yeah.
Frosted, that
That's
is
how they
exactly
address
what I
this
have.
discussion.
That is
How do
exactly
they
it.
deal with fire restrictions? really having non-operable windows on some of this.
That's a really good point.
It is
No,
a
yeah.
great point.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
For building inspector.
Well, so operable but frosted, within 15 feet.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what the fire department would say about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I guess that'd be a fire marshal
You do
discussion.
have to have two exits, don't you? An exit or an entrance, so a window has to be one.
Well,
of
and you
them.
could have
There's
obviously
one
all your
door.
other windows that are operable on the other
Oh,
sides.
you're just talking about.
Facilitate that.
The some.
Yeah.
correct. Okay.
Yeah, you could still do that. I mean, I think the fire code or fire inspector probably would say, well, as long as you have other windows that facilitate that within so much proximity to this room, it would meet
Yeah,
code.
okay, yeah,
That's what I
that's probably
suspect would
true.
be, you
Yeah.
would say.
Okay.
But I could mirror something like that. I mean, if you like that language, that was one of my questions. Does that seem generally where we want to go? Do we not like that? Do we like 15 feet?
I like the idea of 15 feet from their house.
That's what it is, yeah. Within 15 feet of an abutting property is what it says.
So
So do
that
you
could
want it to be
Is that a property
from
line?
a neighboring
or-
home?
I
Or
would say
neighboring
home.
residential structure? Or do you want to say like 20 feet from neighboring? This is where we get into squishy areas, like I said.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's a thought, contrary, I would say that we just do it to the line, it's easier to measure, and because the abutting property owner can also put in a DADU, then
They're at 15 feet as well at that point.
at what point do you evaluate the distance between structures?
Yeah.
Right? Is it the second one that goes in? And then, by then you've got a structure that's not opaque or translucent?
I think to your point too, Lane, if you think about it, it's gonna be in the rear yard, it has to be 6 feet removed from behind the home minimum, because that's what building code requires. So you already got a structure that's placed 6 feet behind an imaginary line from the rear of the home, right? You're gonna be, if we keep 8 feet, inside 8 feet, their side yard setback is also 8 feet for their home, so by the time, you're already at 16 feet even at that from
Yeah.
their structure. even
Yeah.
with that analysis.
Plus we
That's
said
true.
the hot tub right there.
Right.
Right, like, that's really uncomfortable.
But even then, I think that still comes back to, if it's within 15 feet, we're already gonna create 8 feet that's required, so.
Yeah.
That window would still have to be 7 feet further away to not be translucent and be functional in that scenario, is what we're talking about. Yeah, even at 15 feet from a property line.
I think, Lane, you have the right instinct.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking enforceability
Well,
and applicability.
Yeah, agreed.
and can you clarify that? Because you said from the line. What do you mean the line? The fence
Parcel
line?
boundary.
Parcel boundary.
Parcel line, yeah. That's how it's written here, yeah.
So it's agnostic as to the neighbors. because
Whatever they've
the
got
neigh-
going
The
on.
neighbors have the same right,
Yeah, right, yeah.
with the same restriction.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that statement then, and then one right under it, similarly talks about entrances, parking, and stairways within 15 feet shall not be visible from the abutting property. They may be done with a fence along the side and rear property lines, landscaping that is dense enough to obscure activity, or by placing the entrances and stairs out of view of abutting properties. And that says corner properties with ADU entrances facing a right-of-way are not required to screen the entrance if not facing the same right-of-way as the primary dwelling entrance. It's on page 7, you're almost there.
Right.
Scroll down, right there. There it is, Article 4, their Article 6.
Yeah.
Do we like that language? Do we-
So is it the same standards?
As the windows,
No. Is it the same standards as for our homes? Are we trying to make it different?
This
Different
would-
standard?
it is because in theory, I guess from the side yard of a home, if we do 8 feet, which is our minimum, it wouldn't be.
Because I'm trying to figure out, when I looked at this and looked at it and looked at it, why we're trying to make it different.
I guess it depends, where do you want your stairways and your entrances and your parking to be located relative to your neighboring property owner? Again, it's this discussion relative to that access. It's one thing to have your windows, right? It's another thing where you're gonna let it access be happen. What are you gonna say, Sydney?
Well, I'm thinking about, when we do like conditional use permits, right, we think about the health, safety, and welfare.
Yeah.
So would an entrance really, whatever side, would it really impact the health, safety, or welfare of the neighboring lot if we allow for that door to be abutting or facing their neighbors? I don't know.
Slamming door noise at 2 in the morning? I don't know. Maybe that's the concern. I don't know. I'm trying to think why they have, I mean, they have it in there, and they have an ordinance that they're using, this is active code. Do they know something from experience that we don't? I don't know the answer, but that's.
Well, and we, in our internal ADU, if they are closer, like the door for the internal ADUs, if they're closer than 15 feet to the property line, then they have to face another way.
I have it there in my internal comment on the
Perfect.
right. You can see I have location, that's from the internal ADU code.
I like that code.
Yeah.
I liked that read better than,
And I could even
yeah.
replicate that here, and then just to have it be, 4 sub I sub II. 4 is the first paragraph similarly, and then I and II for 1 and 2.
Thought that was good.
Yeah,
I also thought that was
Place
good.
of their Article 6, I could easily do that.
Correct.
yeah, that works.
I mean, if we don't have upper story, then I'll eliminate even number 2, and then obviously just 1 stays in for ground entrance at that point.
I'm a hard pass on upper stories.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Okay,
I'll note that.
my question for that though is when somebody wants to put a ADU in their detached garage,
Yep.
do we allow for that? Cause can we prevent that from happening?
Well, they can, if it's an existing structure, then we have to do the non-complying evaluation, and they could convert an existing structure. But it's gonna be very atypical that it's above 20 feet tall, unless it's, again, non-complying and they prove non-compliance. So in that scenario, if they somehow were higher than 20 and they can prove non-compliance, they would be entitled to conversion, but it's a very rare scenario if that
Okay.
exists in the city.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Which I think I would be fine with,
yeah.
existing
Yeah.
structures.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to incrementally build a detached garage after this ordinance passes and then try
Right.
to.
Yeah,
That's exactly what we would
They
eliminate.
would not be able, like, they,
They can build a garage, but they can't.
so what if they build a garage and genuinely decide, oh, now I want to turn it into this, they just can't do it?
They have to convert the garage at that point to the
Right.
dwelling and not a second story.
Not a second story above the garage,
I
okay,
mean, just build
okay.
in a.
Or let's say it has two garage bays, they can convert 1 bay, obviously, to the housing and then keep the 1 and have a door attachment to it, as long as they meet the other requirements at that point.
Okay. So that's how that conversion would go, yeah.
Would garages be set back less than 8 foot,
Garages would be the 5-foot setback.
5 foot?
In a typical accessory building scenario.
400 plus.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, if you convert, this is again an elimination, right? If we allow accessory buildings as we currently have them at 5 feet, you're now not able to meet the 8 setback requirement, so you can't convert that garage at that point.
You could.
That's okay, that's allowed by the state, we can do that, but that's what the scenario would be created.
Okay.
So anything that has.
So
a
even
5
if you're doing a conversion, you can't change the setback
No, you
is
have to
set?
come into there, unless, again, you can prove some kind of legal noncompliance that you're grandfathered into.
But that's I think that we can just solve that with a grandfather date.
Yeah,
Say, as of the date of this ordinance, any structures that are non-compliant.
yeah,
Cannot be,
Yeah.
add an
Can
article that
be or
states that.
cannot be, and then any structures built after the date of this ordinance.
Good job.
So like that.
sure.
I like it.
Okay, let's see if there's any other squishy ones that I need help with.
I was gonna say, this was supposed to be really easy, but it is.
This is not really easy.
The next one's really easy, I promise you guys, that one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, yeah.
Got that figured out. Let's see. Okay, I already know this one. My second comment, which is on page 5, I've already checked with Public Works. They absolutely want separate utility metering and separate utility lines.
That's what I thought I
You
understood
mean power
already.
as well?
Everything. They want it
Perfect.
completely separate.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They
Yeah.
don't want any of that entanglement and confusion.
Yep, and
They
because
said.
somebody doesn't pay, and that can be a real big problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We already got setbacks, I think.
Do you have addresses in here? in
It's
this
at the very
portion?
bottom. It is one thing I need to check with the Public Works Director to make sure this language would work. But yeah, it's in there.
yeah.
It's new, it's like. one
When
of the
you
very
get to
last.
it, I have comments.
No, it's okay. Let's see. It's maximum heights, we got that. Okay, so, this is Article, this is on page 5, it's Article 6. The state code says you can have some statement about the accessory dwelling matching the architectural style
yeah.
of the main building. So what Mill Creek does is they say 20% of the exterior materials must match the structure facade of the existing structure. And that's on all, so like, obviously if there's a home that has a certain color brick, all facades of the detached accessory dwelling unit must have 20% meeting that same material. And then they go so far as even on color, it's 50%. So if you look at 6, detached ADU shall maintain the same color of the primary dwelling for at least 50% of all facades. So what it's trying to say is, hey, if you're detached ADU, you want a little variation, that's fine, but you need 20% on every facade to match the main structure, and you need 50% of the coloration to match the main structure. That's how Mill Creek's addressing it. Some cities go right out and say, the building material of the detached accessory dwelling unit shall match and reflect the main structure. You can be that dialed in if you feel like it, but it might be harder to prove some of those structural elements and colors that are a part of the main home and find analogs to it. So that's where that gets a little tricky. So I think what Mill Creek was trying to do is say, hey, we understand some of this may be hard to replicate, but find analogs and get close so we can be okay with that. So that's the question, and do we like that analysis that they've created there? Or do we want to be less or more restrictive?
Did you run across any analyses that don't use percentages, that use mushy words like substantially or?
I mean, you can look at the coverage, a lot of them just say match up, or they're more creative like this. I didn't see really any middle ground. It's either a percentile measure or you need to match as closely as you can the main structure. I guess is the easiest way I can say it.
I kind of like the percentage because you can calculate that. It's something that can be calculated. You've got this many feet, whatever, and this much of it, of your facade or the front needs to match. My home is older, so trying to get that brick is going
that's
to be
the
near
issue.
impossible.
Right.
So first I thought, well, it should be 50%, it should match, right? But then when I was talking to my brother-in-law and he said, good luck, that's
Right.
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
You're not, but you can take 20% and do that, and that's a realistic
Yeah.
thing. But if you use words, then people interpret the words differently, and then it could create great
And that's the other
problems.
part for staff, right? If it's squishy words and not percentiles, then it's hard for us to discern, well, this is close enough here, but not close enough here.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Too much judgment involved.
And there's a similar conversation, it's a little further down, but roofs even, it talks about having a similar roof line. That's one of the things they've required. So
Yes.
if it has a flat roof, you
Right.
match flat roof. If it has a
Except we don't
slanted
allow
roof,
flat
you-
roofs.
We actually do
We
have a
do
few
now?
homes with flat roofs in the city.
3, but
There's
do
a
we
few.
allow that for new build?
It's a newer home. There's a modern home up on, it's up kind of on the southeast end of the city. And it's slightly pitched, but it's a flat type roof. It's not a,
I think that's also regulated by IBC, the International Building Code, versus our zoning code. Because I don't think there's anything in our zoning code about the pitch of the roof besides the height
yeah.
maximum.
So I guess their code basically says that the roof line needs to match the roof line of the main
Right.
structure.
Right, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Parking, let's see, is there anything else? Just, they have, there's our internal ADU standard on parking, it's still on page 5. Sid, at the very, very bottom, it's the last one. That's our internal ADU parking. Sydney's really familiar with this one. The question that I only have is are we comfortable with how that's worded?
Which one are we at? Sorry.
Number 8.
Thank you.
Yeah, parking.
Or do we want to use it a little bit of a different standard? Do we want to tweak it? Right now, you can see exactly what she's saying, that it has to be located behind the front yard setback line of the lot, that it can be tandem, but it needs to be established in a place. And if they, in this case, if what the, like, remain in place or restored if missing, that kind of matches state code. State code talks about with like a conversion. If you take out parking stalls, you can still require that they put those stalls back in place on the property somewhere else and show where they're gonna put that. So this code seems to match even what state code does there. But if you feel like this language needs to be bolstered or changed a little bit different than the IADU, that's kind of what I'm seeking.
So I noticed that some of the cities have provisions of the size of the home, right?
Yeah.
If it's 600, like, I think you mentioned this, 649
Yeah,
square
and our-
feet, you have to have one, 650 square feet, you have to have two.
Yep, yeah, and that's what our public works director, our public works street supervisor wants us to do, is meet that standard.
Is
We're not
that
required
due
to.
if it's-
So
yeah.
then we need to state that.
So yeah, and I could add that statement in there real easily, that it
Yeah.
says, any unit that is less than 650 square feet shall have one parking stall. Any structure larger than 650 square feet shall have two parking.
Yep,
Something that says that statement.
I
I
would
could
add
add that
that.
into that paragraph,
Yeah.
tighten that up, and then it could be.
yes.
Yeah.
And do we allow tandem?
We have to by state code, and it's in here as well.
Oh, I thought we
So we're
got
on
the
eight
choice.
right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can parking be gravel?
It has to be,
No, I'm pretty sure it can be gravel.
I was gonna say, I think it's considered a legitimate surface,
Well,
but I
let's-
don't know
let's
where in
just-
code.
It's
Yeah, let's just
compacted.
follow whatever the city does.
Yeah, yeah.
It's compacted, it has to be on a compacted surface, and typically, if there is gravel, then we count it as impervious surface because of how compacted it is. So
Oh,
yes, people can
okay.
actually park on gravel.
So that it's still counted as impervious though?
It would
Okay.
be, yeah.
Okay, going back to page 7, I just have another follow-up question there. Lighting, they have a lighting standard, provide illumination directed
Yes.
downward.
Yes.
Do we want similar language? Obviously, we wouldn't have the
Yes.
code citation, but we could
Hey.
just keep it as,
Where are we
Yeah.
at on this? Oh, on 4.2?
yeah, shall, and we could have it say, and shall follow other similar standards of the city, period.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, that works.
Light sources shall not be visible from abutting properties. Do we want that second statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That helps me. Then they have a table, which I could replicate a similar table and bring that back, and if we need to further tweak the table, we can. So if you at least like the direction of the table. Obviously, we still need to figure out minimum property area at some point, and then we need to figure out if we're gonna, see, they even do gross square footage in their table, like Cindy was saying. So we need to figure out if we want a minimum and a maximum. Setbacks, I think we've heard it's 8 feet and stay off the PUE, so I can update that. Height, I think we're at 20, and then there's the occupancy limit statement earlier. In their case, they have 2 adults and any number of children, which, again, going back to family definition, you can't be more restricted than the state's family definition.
Right, which, and again, going back to what my brother-in-law said, which is why they changed it to bathrooms.
So I guess, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
How many people per bathroom?
I don't know if we can or can't do that. That's where I might need some legal guidance on that.
Yeah,
I feel like also in IBC, there's like an occupancy limit for the square, for like the size of your structure.
Probably fire code too.
So that might be something that I could
That's
reach
true.
out to Cole and John.
It might already be regulated
The
elsewhere.
fire code, yeah, fire code might be enough.
yeah,
If it just says, look, for a 700 square foot home, you can't have more than 5.
But we can do, I mean, I could do with occupancy limit, we could, in theory, replicate what they have here, because at least meets one category of family.
Well, can you check? Can you please check with the fire code and see what?
How
you
it's
know,
regulated.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Short-term rental, this is probably a little bit more for you, Lisa, on page 8. Code 13, I might just have to have you look at if we can do that or not. It talks about a notice with Days County Recorder's office. It's very clearly in internal ADUs that they have regulations that allow for that, but there's not similar guidance in detached ADUs the same way. So I don't know if we can have that similar language or not. It'd be nice, but
I
I don't
think
know.
so. I mean,
Okay.
given what the league has said is, you just can't do these things, but you can add a
Okay.
lot of other stuff, so,
Okay,
so.
so we'll.
As long
we'll
as there's
just-
not something conflicting with this in state law.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, so we'll follow that same. I don't know the reason for C, or exemptions,
yeah.
detached ADUs. I know it's language that I brought over from internal ADUs. I don't know if it matters one way or another, so I can leave it in there. I guess if we have it in internal ADUs, there's probably a reason we have it, but, but it was just kind of interesting statement.
You wanna know what it is? It's when you do a subdivision and it's like 1 acre and then we allow for them to subdivide into 4 units and then each unit can have an internal ADU.
So it's saying for that, don't count it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, then that makes sense. Do you think then it's okay keeping it in for detached the same way? Okay. Let's see, I'm all the way down now to page 11. So this is, let's see. I was just saying that we could use similar language for conversion. But I'm not sure that we need this comment. I'm just trying to remember why I said that. I mean, again, they would have to meet our nonconformities determination. I don't know if it hurts or helps anything to keep it in there.
Is that a Lisa question?
It might be. I think,
That could be where we put in the grandfathering statement that makes.
yeah,
Okay,
it
particular
starts
dates.
a little bit here. I just don't know, because then they go in more, and I think all it's trying to say is following nonconformities, which we hit again later under 2, where we talk about applying CZC 12.22. I'll have to look at that. Let me talk to Lisa a little bit more about it.
I have a question about that, about a guest house. It
Yeah.
says, by definition, a guest house may not be rented out or leased. So I could build something, a structure in my backyard for my children that will live there forever. No, I wouldn't want that. But I'm just saying, my mom, right? My kids or my mom or something. And so then do we have different standards as to what a guest house?
That's true. What, I guess that, you're right, that second statement, what
I
it
don't know if
seems.
we allow guest houses.
Yes.
I think that is an accessory dwelling
Yeah, so I could,
under our code.
I would
We have
probably rip that
Read
out.
and, yeah, I'd have to look, but I
So
don't think,
then anything that they want to build would have to go through these restrictions.
it's gonna be habitable. If it's gonna be a
It'll be-
dwelling.
So that's helpful, this dialogue's helpful. So what I would strip at a minimum is from a property with an existing to the end of that. That at least I would strip from that
Yeah,
paragraph.
I think this is trying to address something different.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting. Guest house is defined in our code.
Yeah.
Does it live anywhere else?
I don't think so, yeah, I think it's
I did a
antiquated.
cross-reference
Just
check.
in the definitions?
Just in the
So we
definition.
probably pulled it from somewhere else.
I'm
We
going
had
to
it.
assume that at one point we had guest house defined and then we
Yeah.
stripped it from the code
Yeah,
and we
somewhere
just
it was
didn't strip
pulled.
it from the definition.
Well, and sometimes
there you
we'll
go.
leave the definition, because if you have a definition, but it's not in your list of permitted uses, then it's not permitted.
Correct.
And we can't get away with that as much anymore, but, so it's defined,
So
but
we
we don't
leave it.
allow it anywhere.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, that's
there
good to
you
know. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's keep going down. Yeah, on 13, page 13, there's a weird statement. I'm trying to, I put it in there because I know there's 2 legal minds in this room, so maybe you can help me, or maybe the other planning commissioners can read this and see if they can make sense what this is trying to say. For all properties located abutting a residential zone boundary or legally established residential dwelling, the detached building does not protrude higher than the measured height of the existing non-complying structure being expanded. I'm not sure how that applies or what it's trying to say relative to a conversion of a building into a detached ADU. I'm not sure what the purpose is of that statement.
What is it expanding?
I don't know, that's why I was
Is
trying to
this,
get sense.
is this from an IADU?
No, this is Mill Creek City's detached ADU conversion language.
So I read this 3 different times to my brother-in-law, and I said, Does this make sense to you of 30-some-odd years of doing this at all? He said, no, read it again. Read that one part again, read it again. He said, I don't know what to
I'll
make
just
of
delete it
that.
then, unless we can find any legal relevancy as to why that is in their
Lisa?
code.
Can you, Lisa?
No,
No? It just didn't make sense.
I mean,
to
I'd have
me.
to read the whole, I haven't read this
Right.
section.
Right, and
I'd
it's
have to
tied
read it in
specifically to a conversion of an accessory structure. It's weird.
A non-conforming structure, maybe at that point, maybe what it's saying is that there's a non-conforming structure already existing and
Like a shed?
what
Look
you're
at-
wanting to do is that you're wanting to expand it.
This is a subsection of 2, and 2 is very restrictive. It talks
I don't-
about non-complying structures legally established, blah, 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 may be converted or expanded
For
for
the
the purposes of a
expansion.
converting or enlarged.
But I'm not sure we want to
To a-
allow non-conforming structures to be
Correct.
converted. I think the
This whole s-
non-conforming, we're not, anyway, so I
Yeah.
don't know that we would want that.
All of two,
Is a huge
not
question.
subsection two, but all of,
Yeah, the two where I
Yeah, I would
accidentally
take
made
two.
a mistake, but that sub two, we might
You
want
can
to take
convert
out.
an existing permitted accessory structure or garage or building, but if it's non-conforming, I mean, it could be non-conforming as to setback, as to,
All kinds of things.
I don't
And
know.
then we get
But
into really
again,
gray
you wouldn't be
areas.
allowed to convert it because now it doesn't meet the setback.
Yeah.
I would possibly delete everything from that blue two,
Okay,
like the whole section.
Yeah.
This?
Yeah, I think that we could probably come up with something better, and in part, they have that other section we were looking at either, before.
I think I might need to keep something like one or an analog 2-1,
One, yes.
but the second two, I could probably remove in its entirety, okay.
I
All
would
right.
just take the rest of that whole thing. I don't know what, I don't,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
a lot of these codes had some discretion, or I don't think we start our code with discretion. I think we're just gonna have the rules. There's
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
go ask for this, or go do this. We already have variance requests, so I also wouldn't copy any of that kind of language.
Okay. And then 14 is just carrying over our internal ADU language and meeting allowances that they provide to us. I just note that, again, there's a statement about filing with the owner occupancy with the county when we finalize the detached ADU, they have to record that affidavit. Sounds like we can do that. And then, obviously, get their license and how that works. Again, meeting the internal ADU. And that's the same comment, even on page 15. Anything that's pure and red is straight from IADU that I'm just converting over for detached. There's the addressing one, Larry, on page 16 at the it's
Yeah.
Article 4. I just need to see if that's still the same language we would want to use for detached like we do with internal.
Yeah, this is the one that I have comments on.
And then, Lisa, maybe it's a legal question, but on violations and enforcement of the area I've highlighted at the very end right there.
Oh, wait, did you just jump to violations and enforcement?
Yeah.
Go back to 4.
We can go back, yeah, we can talk about addressing
The
more.
street addressing. So it says it will not be given a new distinct address by the city. Well, it has to have something. It has to have A or B.
It would
or
have,
one or something.
it would have A or B. It would have an alphabetical reference.
Okay.
I
So,
like, some other codes just said, they will be addressed according to the city's addressing policy. And
we could do away with it. This is
But-
just what's an internal.
I think, this is the way we handle it
This
already.
is our language right
Yeah.
now, Lisa, and then.
I don't love, because I agree with Lorraine that we're not gonna, I mean, we do give it a distinct one.
Yeah, it has to be distinct for emergency services,
Yeah.
for its Census
Yeah.
Bureau, so, I mean, so for many things.
Where is this?
It's
In
a-
Amazon
C-
delivery.
It's
Oh,
a-
4.
Let's
Yeah,
get
it's
wrecked
very-
and
Like,
real.
let's just be
That's-
honest, it's for the Amazon.
It's all the
delivery.
Amazon deliveries. That's the
Yeah,
only,
This is, it's
Come on,
replicating
really,
internal
that's gonna be the
ADU.
real friction.
all my packages.
Well, we may need to look at that, I'm not sure.
And for mail, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Because I have seen, a number of other cities address it, I think I've seen some better examples.
But if we want
Because
to,
we could amend our internal as
Yeah,
well. But
yeah.
we can talk to Mike, because Mike Carlson does
Okay.
addressing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that that was, no matter what, that was gonna be
I see,
addressed.
so
and
yeah, they
specific.
still want it the same, but that's internal. This is a building in the back.
that's why
It's
I
different.
don't know, yeah, if
Yeah.
we want a similar policy or not.
I
I
see,
can
so
check
this
with
would work,
Mike.
this is why this works for internal, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. It's a
But I mean, you could have a similar thing for a detached, because it's about the same coordinate location, and you might confuse it with a different number. That's why I need to talk to Mike and see what he would prefer.
Or does the post office have a say? Do they say what happens, or is it?
Most were giving it,
Usually they do have a say, but typically it's what is approved by the.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yep.
Got it.
We drive that conversation.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
So that addresses all my squishy stuff. I can go back and listen to the recording. So that at least addresses my questions. So now, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, we didn't finish the violations and enforcement,
Oh,
because we
yeah.
jumped back.
Yeah, and we still need to come back to size and lot
Right.
size. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, Larry.
So on this one, I was a little unclear on the language, but I think that, and you were asking, should this be included? You were seeking guidance from Lisa.
Yeah, because it's referencing, the 102303 is technically an internal ADU. It's direct from the state code, or it's linked to the state code, that reference. See how it says, city may utilize enforcement provisions of Utah Code 102303. There's not something, there's not an analog to it in 102304 that I can look to. So then the question becomes, what would we do, or how do we have more language there?
Yeah, it is interesting. I guess I should probably look at that, but, I mean, I think they do allow, you know, owner occupancy requirements, and if they allow us to do that, they should allow us to add other things, but I'll have to take a look at that, why they didn't put it, or talk to the
Right.
league, like, why didn't we add that here?
Yeah, it's weird. That one was weird to me. So that's why I was asking the question.
Can I ask a question that's rudimentary, and I should know this? How far away from the primary structure does a DADU have to sit?
6 feet.
6.
6 feet behind it. So you have the rear of the home, right?
All the wall or roof eave to roof
It
eave?
would probably, it's the wall.
Wall.
Yeah. it's
Oh,
from
it
the
is wall.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's for like the fire.
Yeah, there's a fire break in 6 feet, so imaginary line. No structures technically could be within 6 feet, even an accessory structure, to protect from coals jumping and embers and all that stuff, yeah.
Thank you.
And I would add that language in our code. That is in some other codes, you'll see that.
Yeah.
It's not in Mill Creek's, but they probably just let building code do it. That's why they don't declare it. So I can declare it or not, but building code will require either way.
I'd specify it.
So, should we talk about the two big issues?
Yeah, we
And figure out what we want to do?
Yep.
I need to figure out minimum lot size allowance, and I need to figure out if you want a minimum size of structure and a maximum size of structure for these. That's what I need from the commission at this point. So I guess I'll turn it over to you to tell me what you think, or discuss it internally and let us know what your consensus is.
So,
That's just something that's going to have to be discussed between us.
Well, and my opinion changes if we allow basements or not,
Exactly, exactly.
so we need to make that decision first.
I feel like there was more direction in favor of that, but yeah, feel free to give me some consensus.
Do we have any restrictions from having basements in there? Like, is that some way gonna jack up the neighbors something? I mean, you're gonna have to obviously change maybe sprinkler lines, or some sprinkler lines, or. I
Most
don't know,
likely, the
something.
sprinklers would be in the easement, though. You know
Or,
what I
or
mean?
elsewhere around the property
Your own
if there's,
internal sprinkler.
yeah, or realigned.
Would, do accessory dwelling units get basements? They don't.
No, well, yeah, it would be internal. They could be a basement, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we allow conversions of a basement to an internal ADU.
Sorry, accessory buildings. Accessory
Oh.
buildings, they don't get basements.
They could, there's no
I
restrictions
mean,
on that.
yeah, there's nothing that says they couldn't.
Hold up, really?
Yeah?
We don't
No?
require slab on grade
I don't think so.
Uh,
for just,
I don't know.
Six
Put a
accessory
pin in
buildings.
that. Let me ask
Talking
John.
about like if you build a
That's true.
detached garage, I'm just
yeah,
trying to
just like a
visualize
full-on
something.
garage, like, can you put a basement in a garage?
I
Huh.
don't
Under our
think
code?
there's any restrictions on that.
It might be, but yeah, it might be per building code. That, I'll have to put a pin in it, and that's something I have to do homework on. I'll have to find that out.
Anyways, I'm not gonna reiterate too strongly what I said, but I think I'd rather stack than sprawl.
yeah.
Well, I would agree with that, as long as it's not adversely affecting anybody, right, or anything.
You know, ought not to, I don't know, I can't imagine where digging that isn't already restricted by something else would have an adverse effect on a neighbor.
And there's gonna have to be digging anyway, because they have to have their own sewer line,
Yeah.
right?
They'd also have to have footings below the frost line, even for a slab, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
So
True.
you're, what, 20 inches down? What's our frost line?
I think it depends on maybe the areas of the city and the topography of the geotech. That's what I would suspect. I think it depends on your soil substrate.
But give or take what?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think in the geotech.
And then did you say the basement doesn't count towards the square footage? Is that what I heard you
No, we
say?
It
could,
would.
we could with
Oh, it
gross,
would.
with the gross
Maybe
square
the
foot
gross floor
use.
area.
That's the language we'd use. And that's what they have in their table in the exemplar as well.
So I've been vocal on this already, but I'll just say, this would be my proposal. Basements allowed, gross square footage be the limit, the maximum, that we really don't need, a minimum. I think that there's gonna be too many constraints on that as it is. And then we just say, for the lot size, make it 8,500.
And what gross square footage maximum would,
Great question, like, I don't think we want another house.
No.
No, we
no, no.
don't want a
So,
second home.
anything sub 1,200.
I'd say 7,000.
Okay.
Okay, so Bountiful City has 1,250.
That's just too big.
Yeah. Eagle Mountain has 1,200.
If you,
I mean, I'm just,
and I think Mill Creek's is 1,000.
is it
Is their
1,000?
maximum.
Okay. So that's not out of the realm of possibility either then, huh?
North Salt Lake is 300.
As a minimum.
As a minimum, yeah.
Yeah, and their maximum
was
is like
there,
12 something.
1,200, yeah,
Yeah.
1,200.
I just put it into perspective. Our first home in Centerville was a Hal Harrison home. Had a basement, main level, 1,100 square feet. So that's what you think, if you drive through Casa Loma, that's 1,100 square feet.
Yeah.
And that's a good size.
That's a
Yeah,
lot of house.
That's a really good size.
Well, I'm thinking more along the lines of if you stack a 600 square foot,
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you're
Well,
stacking.
is
Point.
pretty constrictive.
would there
And
be,
it looks teeny.
which is what you want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
would there be any use to like having language that says, you know, single level is 600 square feet, but you can go up to 1,200
So-
if you have a
You're
basement?
already kind of gonna hit that restriction with lot coverage.
Yeah, gross total could be
The lot
12, and
coverage.
any one level cannot be more than X.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, we could do that, just know
I
like
would be
lot,
totally fine with
lot
that.
coverage is 60% of the entire lot with anything that's hardscape and or structure by code currently. So that would include a DADU. So if you have a really big home
You've
and you use
already-
it most of
yeah.
your percentage, you're not gonna have very much for a DADU in your backyard.
Yeah.
Or if you have a really big driveway and a really big home, and you're at 56% or 57% coverage, you're not gonna have a lot left for a DADU.
You don't have one, yeah.
So that might already regulate some of the sizing that you're talking about, except for a big AL lot or a big RL lot, like that's half an acre, right?
Yeah.
It kind of favors them over someone who's got a smaller lot coverage to work with. So, but just take that into account as you think about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe we don't, like, there's gonna be enough restrictions.
We could try it, even with the lot coverage, and see how it works, see how things are going. I know try it is experimenting literally with people working with the
Over
auspices
years.
of the code. But we could then see what's going on, and if we need to hem some things in or tighten some language, always have that discretion.
Okay, can you also ask Bountiful what a typical size is that people are building?
Oh, yeah.
And whether it has basements.
I'm sorry? Oh,
Basements.
basements, and whether, yeah, they allow for basements.
That should be in their code I provided, but we can
Well, I don't recall.
clarify it.
And
I
I
know,
wasn't
that's
looking
fine.
for that
And I don't
either.
remember now, because, yeah, I don't remember if Bountiful says they allow basements or not. So I can ask them specifically.
They do a gross square footage.
Yeah, they do.
Shall be the lesser of the gross square footage of the existing main building, or 1,000 square feet.
And that's on Mill Creek, right? That says that.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, okay,
That's Mill Creek.
my bad. Oh, yeah, we just do 12.
yeah, 1,250 on Bountiful.
Okay. So gross square footage, are we thinking 1,000, 1,100, 1,200? What are we thinking?
I'm thinking I want more information from Bountiful, but if
For
we have.
for now, just to have
for
some,
now, you
because
need a
obviously
number?
if we set a public hearing, I want to have dialed in information. You can always adjust it after hearing public hearing comments.
I'm surprised to hear myself say it, but I would say like 750.
Oh,
As your maximum for
Yeah.
gross square footage.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I do not like the idea of like a big old house behind someone else's house.
At that point, would you just round up to 800?
No?
Sure. I mean,
I'd say no. I'd say no way.
I'm just saying, 800, I mean, 50 feet,
Yeah,
give or
it's not
take,
a-
for orifices and, yeah,
not even a bedroom.
utilities.
800 square feet on a two-level?
Gross.
Gross. So they could go 800 square feet out, and it could be some big
If
old
they can hit their,
rambler.
if they can hit their coverage,
Right,
which is
if
gonna
they
be
can
pretty
meet
hard.
all of the
Yeah.
things.
And even in that case, then they have a really big lot and they're not gonna be impacting people anyway, if they can go that big.
Maybe, if they put it in the corner, they live way
But
out
still,
there in the
eight-
North
eight-
40 and it's over by these
8 feet
guys.
minimum, all right, I mean, yeah.
It's pretty sprawling and big.
800 is a lot better than 1,200.
We would be more restrictive size-wise than most cities that I've surveyed. So just be aware of that. If you're comfortable with that, I'm just letting you know, that is pretty restrictive compared to other cities.
Yeah.
At 800 square feet. So if you like that, then that does create some of that community care or protection that we have been talking about from a size aspect.
In a good way.
In a good way, if
Yeah.
that's what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
Yes.
Bountiful 12 City, North Salt Lake 1,200, West Valley City
Oh, 800, see? Is there
800,
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Salt Lake
I want to be
County.
like West Valley.
But I think that's a good place to start,
Yeah.
because we can change it if we have some
Yeah.
different thoughts between now
And
and.
remember, council may ever change it anyway, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But I agree with
Mountain,
Lane. I
1,200.
Yeah.
having a whole big house in my backyard doesn't seem right.
yeah, 1,100 is pretty big, filling.
It's very big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you want it to be reasonable, actually. You want,
It's gotta be
if there's a need
livable.
there for it, to have something that's livable, but not expansive.
Right.
And then, is everybody good with 8,500 lot size minimum?
That's,
Yeah.
I have no opposition to it.
Okay. Okay, I think I have everything I need unless you have special requests or expectations beyond what we.
One more thing, when we were talking about tiny homes, I know they're not allowed in some places, and I know that they are allowed in other cities, as I was reading through. And then you had said something, I don't want to quote you, because I'll get it wrong, something about tiny homes could be on a possible foundation.
I was saying,
Said it.
Could do it.
we can't restrict the placement of willed DADUs, but we can require that they be permanently fixed to concrete slabs.
Okay, so in regards to that, I called my sister who is an insurance person, and she said tiny homes are only built to an RV standard. They are not built to the International Residential Code. So therefore, should not be allowed as a ADU.
We might have to, at that point, do some legal research with Utah League of Cities and Towns to see if we can restrict, or this is why you have minimum DADU size.
Yeah, right.
restrictions.
Yeah, that's what I
So
was
if your
gonna
minimum
say.
is 350, that's probably bigger than most tiny homes, so that right there would restrict them out.
And it does say that we can require a detached accessory dwelling unit comply with all applicable building, health, and fire codes. So if we're calling it a dwelling, applicable dwelling code is international.
If we call it
Building
a
code.
tiny home, but it has to
So
be.
yeah, I think it
all
would be
this-
worth asking, who said you can't prohibit
Yeah, yeah.
tiny homes and other mobile homes?
So,
It was in the seminar with Utah League of
Oh,
Cities
okay.
and Towns last Wednesday.
well, you say that, but in this, under Mill Creeks, it says a detached ADU shall be a permanent structure. Trailers, mobile homes, and other portable structures, especially structures with wheels, shall not be
He
permitted.
said that that's the one area of their code they probably have to adjust in light of the
Okay.
legislation.
Okay.
Yeah,
With this most recent legislation?
yeah.
So then what do we,
Well, I
Say about
think
that.
it's okay to do a minimum, because, and then you'll get around the tiny.
Well, and we can keep this language in there and see if it gets challenged too, if we want to play that way. But yeah, the other way is just give a minimum, and then it probably
Yeah.
restricts most tiny homes from even
I'm
coming in.
comfortable with the minimum
Yeah,
of like 350 square feet.
And I can still add too, tiny homes must be affixed to a permanent foundation attached to
And-
concrete per building code standards. which matches what Lisa
One of the
was saying.
cities had to have skirting covering.
And I can
everything.
require that language as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That almost becomes like a mobile home park.
yeah.
Well,
Oh, I
right,
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
yeah.
Which is
But
what we
yeah,
don't want.
exactly. That's what they do.
Because what it comes down to, it's not this code. I know where it's going. My brain's starting to go back to it with the wheeled vehicles and stuff. There's a standard talking about manufactured homes, and there's manufactured home regulations and protections that the state legislature approved about a year ago that is coming into play crossing over with this. That's what it is. I remember when he was talking about it now.
So then what does that mean?
You can't overly regulate manufactured home placement as a traditional dwelling unit in your city because it doesn't meet certain typical dwelling unit standards. And so that similarly applies even in a DADU scenario.
Yeah,
That's what some of the conversation was. I remember him talking about that. So, I mean, we could always seek more league guidance on that one, but again, another way to do it is to have a minimum. That's probably why a lot of cities have 350 square feet
Yeah.
as a minimum.
I like that.
yeah, let's do the minimum.
That's my
I-
opinion.
Because it probably
agree with
just
that.
regulates them out of being able to be placed in your city at that point anyway. Or 400 square feet if you want to get a little even. Yeah.
I don't know, Mason, are you looking up typical sizes of?
Yeah, I'm concerned that we're being, our maximum size is too low, but,
The maximum size is too low.
yeah, I think 800 is too low for the gross.
Well, is there a way to say if it's, basement plus, that, your gross square footage is this? Because we don't want 1,000 square foot Rambler,
I agree with you.
so how would we fix that?
I feel like, I think there are enough restrictions with permeable surface restrictions and setbacks that you're not gonna get ramblers.
Yeah,
And even if you were to see a lot where you're gonna get 1,000 square feet, you're gonna be on like a 1 acre.
That's what I was saying earlier.
That's the only reason. And I think that we should say, look, if you can fit a 600 and a 600 on your lot, great, do it. Because I'm looking at a 600, like a floor plan for a 600, that's like a 1-1, maybe a 2-1 if you're lucky.
And that doesn't sound like a very happy place to live.
No, for my, like a mother-in-law, great.
Yeah.
1-1,
Oh, if you're one person.
yeah,
Or if you're just like you and your kid.
yeah. Or if it's,
Right,
you
just
know,
a single couple or something.
a single couple with a new baby, a 2-1, great.
Yeah.
But a 600, I think you're not gonna get more than 1 bedroom on a level.
yeah, right.
Maybe two. If
Too
you were,
small.
if you were like Asian style, like cupboards, or New York style cupboards.
Yeah.
I definitely would prefer some language that allows for more space if you go underground, but does not allow for more space above ground.
Yeah,
I
above
think
ground.
that's a concession I would totally love to make.
Yeah.
I'm really discomfited by a limit of 7 or 8. Gross total, like
Yeah.
regardless. But I think that if we build something in like that, that would work.
Yeah.
Something I would totally go for.
I agree.
Yeah, you could say
Ground
800
floor.
square feet, yeah, or up to 1,200 square feet with
A basement.
With-
basement, basement application. I'm not sure what it exactly would say, but something like that.
I like that.
That could work. I would have gone at it the other direction where it's the gross is 1,200 and any one level cannot exceed X.
Yeah.
I could do that too.
Any one level cannot exceed 8.
Yeah, you could do 12, you could do that. You could
You
say,
could do 8 and 4. I mean,
you could do 1,200 square feet and no single level can exceed 800 square feet.
Yeah, that's great.
So if we're gonna do 12, do we wanna do 1250?
And we don't
Yeah.
allow a second story.
Right, yeah,
Just
we
model
It
it
has
off
to
of
go
down
will
underground.
regulate that out.
Yeah, so why don't we do 1250? Do 1250, but not on one level.
No single level can exceed 800 square feet maximum.
Right.
Okay.
Great.
I like it.
Works for
Up
me.
top, good job.
Go team.
Yep, yeah.
By our powers combined.
Trying to see if there's anything else.
And what I'll do is I'll work on an update and I will send it out to you before I send out the public hearing notice so you can comment back to me individually if I
Okay.
missed something or you see something that you remember from the meeting. So just give me until maybe Tuesday to send out a draft to you, and that'll give you a couple days to give me back feedback by like Thursday. Just have to get the public hearing notice out by next Friday, the 31st.
One quick question, did we arrive at a parking standard that transitions from 1 to 2 stalls at X amount of square feet?
Yeah, by state code, it's 650 square feet.
Right,
Yeah.
perfect.
I know that I read it somewhere in here, but I wanted to verify that we have that correctly and clearly in our standards of, there can be no selling of that property, right? So it's nobody can go in and buy that.
We won't even recognize that as an option,
Okay.
not like Farmington City, who blatantly recognizes that as an option.
Gosh.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
won't,
Yes.
we're not there.
Okay, so it will only forever be a rental?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
it's clear in the code
Okay.
that way. Yep,
And we already don't allow people to like park on grass and stuff, right?
correct.
right.
That, and we now have a code enforcement officer that will be able to enforce that.
We do?
Yeah,
Oh, really? Wow.
Part-time?
yeah.
That's awesome.
Goliath.
His name's Goliath?
It really is.
And does he look like Goliath?
He's a pretty big boy.
Is he a big boy?
Yeah.
It's
Big
fantastic.
man, I shouldn't demean him. He's a bigger gentleman, in a good way, like.
Well, he should come here, Goliath, you should come here so he can meet you. Like that.
He's soft-spoken, but bigger in frame.
Perfect. So happy we have one. That'd be great.
That's everything I need, again, unless you have anything for me. I think that would wrap up what I'm seeking. And I feel like I kind of have led the conversation towards public hearing, but are you okay with me advertising for public hearing on the 31st?
Sure.
Okay. Or the 12th, okay. Then that's it for me. I know it's taken a little bit of time, but thanks for your participation and commentary. And if anything comes up, you're welcome to still email me, as this is very fluid right now, going into that public hearing.
Okay. So does anybody else have any comments or questions for him before we move on to something else? No. Okay, thank you. Thanks to all three of you. You guys are awesome. Okay, so then we're going to move on to boundaries. And so you've got that one?
Yes.
Okay.
So currently, right now, we have what is called an exchange of titles, and it doesn't go into much detail about the current update that occurred in October last year about boundary line adjustments. So there are boundary line adjustments simple, boundary line adjustments full, and then boundary line establishments. Boundary line establishments are where the property line between two boundaries are really vague. There was never really any clear distinction. So the two properties are coming together and they're saying, hey, we're establishing this property line. That's not something that the city will regulate, but it is something that should be defined because it is defined in the state code. The next one is the boundary line adjustment simple, which basically states, okay, you need to meet the conveyance documents, which the state identifies as name and signatures of each parties, the addresses of the parties, the legal descriptions of each parcel before the adjustment and after the adjustment, and then the conveyance language that is in 57-145.5. So with this update, Mike and I have worked together. It's kind of been about, I think this is on our third draft right now, where we took pretty much verbatim what the code states for the simple, for the full, and for the boundary establishment. There were a few edits that we made that clarify what the city would request for a boundary adjustment for a full. For a simple, and I'm hopping around, my bad, for a simple, after the conveyance documents, really we just want to have a description of what the lots look like, so no formal survey is needed. But we need to make sure that if it is a simple, then no easements are affected, no public right-of-way is affected, and of course, the lot after the boundary line adjustment is created doesn't create any nonconformities on both lots. So that's for the simple. That is, once again, per the code, state code. For the full, at this point, it's when we do ask for a survey. And for the survey, what we require is actually what the state requires. plus one additional item, which is the frontage calculations. And the reason why we're requesting the frontage calculations is because based on what zone you are in, you need to meet the frontage calculations requirements. So, that is really, it is number 4, so full boundary line adjustment, subsection, let me go to line update, are we doing that one?
Yeah, and I actually, it shows a C, but that's technically 4 under full boundary adjustment.
Great, okay,
That should be 4.
yeah.
And then the rest didn't.
Oh, I see.
And then we're going to frontage calculations. Okay, so this item right here is really the only one, and it's the frontage calculation, is the only one that we are applying what the city states in addition to what the code requires. So that, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I've had, in the past 3 months, we have had 6 come in, and it is hard to meet the state code with our current code as it is, so that's why I'm really pushing for us just to meet the code standards, so then the surveyors are not giving me pushback, so then everybody in our departments are on the same page. It's just very clear and straightforward, and it will really help us execute the process and make it go quicker for them, the property owners. So, any questions?
I just want to add to that too, obviously, we will schedule this one for a public hearing if there's support to do so, starting on the 31st.
Yes. I think so.
Okay.
I only had one question in regards to the verbiage on your table between simple and, it's not complex, what's the word you just used? Extensive?
Full.
Full. Okay, so, let me see. Okay, on the full boundary line adjustment, long.
Property boundaries that are recorded, survey, or plat document, the process is typically updated legal description or needs a recorded map showing the new property.
Okay, it's that sentence, that second sentence, maybe because I can't see the right side of it, but it just, I guess I need to hear it or see it with all of the words on that particular sentence. This process is typically,
That is a good question. I can pull it up.
because the thing that was confusing to me is I'm obviously missing some pieces of the puzzle right there, but the verbiage on the second part just didn't make sense to me. All the rest did.
Oh, I can't open up my documents on this computer.
Can you go to the network, Sid? I have all your documents in the network.
Oh,
Maybe you could do that.
Or if
Can't
just,
get to network from there, can
Yeah.
you? Nope, darn. Actually, I can at least find it real quick on my computer though, and read it.
well, and maybe it's not that big of a deal, except it just, it didn't
I
make.
will say that this would be something that I provide to the applicants, just as a, it wouldn't be like a legal document, it wouldn't be in the code anywhere. This would just be something that I provide to the applicants as part of their application to explain what it is.
Okay.
But it is good to know that this one, I'll kind of do some massaging of this and look
It's only
into
that
it for the next-
sentence.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, it's
I'll
from
look
the
into
email,
it.
so I can't see it either. I didn't
Okay.
realize it on the native. Yep.
But I liked everything else that you had. I thought that it was clear
Yeah.
and concise,
Thank you.
and I appreciated that. Details are good.
Good.
And so we don't need to make a vote, we don't need to say anything other than that's
We're just
awesome.
gonna
Other,
schedule a
I mean,
public
if there's
hearing.
any changes to the language that you see that needs to be done, this would be a good time to say it. But otherwise, yeah,
Okay.
just do the public hearing.
Anybody? Thumbs up?
No, I think it was all great,
Two
yes.
thumbs way up. Okay. Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Nobody else has any questions or comments for her?
No,
All right, so we will do the Community Development Director's report.
Okay, I just have one item to also note, we will have a third zoning text amendment, public hearing at your next meeting on the 12th for a thing that Lisa has been working on regarding the combination of the Historical Preservation Committee and the Landmarks Commission into one body. The Historical Preservation Committee leadership has accepted the addition of the Landmarks Commission responsibilities, and so we need to get it codified, so that will also be at your next meeting.
Is that
Okay.
anything that we need to be?
Yeah, so the Whitaker Museum is now going to also wear the hat of the, what's currently called the Landmarks Commission will be called the Historic Preservation Commission. Kind of like the city council wears the hat of the RDA. So we've gone to the Whitaker Museum Board, and then we need to, there's two ordinances. One is for municipal code amendments and one is for zoning code. But we're just going to bring both of them to you for simplicity, have a public hearing on both, and then with a public hearing and then recommendation to the council. But this was initiated by the mayor. He directed staff to prepare these and has been working for quite some time because we have not had a functioning Landmarks Commission for quite some time. So I think it's a good resolution.
Not since I left it.
Oh, yeah, you are.
See, this is on you.
No. No,
Wow.
me
So you
and-
worked with Brandon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 years ago. is
Yeah.
what it feels like.
It's been really hard. So I think it's a good,
Yeah.
solution.
So then all the information that we need to have will be provided to us.
In the
right,
packet.
Right, in the packet, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that's all I
Good.
have.
anything else? Okay. All right, can we please look at our minutes from last time? Mason and I were gone, everybody else was here.
Amanda was the most senior. She got
I,
to sit in.
I saw that
Yeah,
when I watched
amazing.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
She did a good job.
Yep.
Would anybody like to make a motion on the minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Anyone second?
Second.
Okay. Can we take a vote? Go ahead.
Aye.
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 Okay, that unanimously passes. And I think that's it for adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All done, all adjourned. Thanks, you guys.
Aye.
I just like